Say, kids, what time is it?
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
Okay, and we're coming on to you today from Boulder Creek, California. From Son and I, Mrs. Future and I, and Bobby in San Francisco. Actually, you're somewhere else, Bobby. You look like
I'm
you're
in
a
Grass
cabin
Valley.
somewhere.
Grass Valley, near Nevada City.
Near Nevada City.
Near Tahoe.
Oh, okay. A beautiful place for those of you who haven't been up there. It's on the way to Lake Tahoe, which is one of the most beautiful lakes on the planet. And speaking of lakes, we're going to introduce you to a special friend. We kind of spent some time on a little lake up in northern, I wouldn't say northern Quebec, but I would say in Quebec. A little north of Montreal in the Laurentian Mountains. We've often hung out with our guest, Craig Sim Webb, a renowned researcher and author and speaker and a known expert, especially in the whole world of dreaming, lucid dreaming, especially. You guys might have heard about the Stanford dreaming projects on studying lucidity and dreams. Well, Craig knows all about that sort of thing. And we brought him on today to talk about visions and dreams and such. He also went to McGill University, which is my old alma mater, and worked with Montreal's Sacré-Cœur Hospital with biofeedback. Not surprising considering our friend we share in common with this, Hal Myers, runs Thought Technology, a biofeedback company in Montreal. I could say a lot more, but let's talk to Craig. Craig, welcome to the show.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, great to join you guys. Alan, son, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, since Hal's 80th birthday party, I think.
Yes, on video, right. Live a little bit longer, but maybe we'll connect in a dream soon.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like
right.
it.
One of the things I remember from the docs there were you diving down and finding all these incredibly old bottles from the bottom of the lake and bringing them up in quite the collection.
Oh, I think that's like an archetype of who I am, though, you know. It's like a fractal or I guess example of what I do in my life, you know, kind of dive into the depths, find some very cool stuff, bring it up and show people. In fact, my first film came from that exact thing. Very cool bottles that I found in this cave kind of underwater and brought them up and it turned into a film. So actually you picked up a really good metaphor there.
Really? What film was that? What was it? Early?
It's called Treasure in a Bottle. It was a pandemic, you know, passed the time with some amazing creative, sort of half art, half physics. Some very trippy pictures of rainbow spectrums that all came from a dream.
Wow, how fun. Can people watch that? Is it available?
Sure. Yeah, it's available. Yeah.
How do they find it?
Maybe
How would I find
link
it?
in the description after.
Oh, good.
Just search Treasure in a Bottle and I guess Craig Sim Webb on YouTube. My channel is Edutainer CSW, my initials.
Oh, cool. All right. I'll look forward to that. It sounds like a fun
Great.
film.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun art film, and it led to, I guess, a little bit of a new direction for me. So it might just be the seed or the DNA dream that grows into something much bigger than you originally thought.
Yeah. You know, Craig, when we first met you many, many years ago, I remember you had been involved with Stanford in doing dream research.
Right.
Studies where people were really learning to map the dynamics of sleep and dream. Tell us a little bit about that and what you were doing. Just at the beginning.
And I remember our first meeting very sweetly too, and many others.
Yeah.
I guess for my path at that time, I was in Palo Alto there, or just across the mountains from you guys. And I was at the Stanford research, exciting stuff, you know, kind of bringing lucid dreaming to the world in different ways, lots of media. So we're often getting like things to put on TV, different interviews, or they wanted to see the sleep lab where actually lucid dreaming was scientifically proven. Or they liked the technology too. I designed the Nova Dreamer mask that actually helps people go lucid, kind of watches eye movements while you sleep, and then gives a little feedback while you're still dreaming to help you become conscious in your dreams. So the media loved that stuff.
It's kind of rare, isn't it? I mean, most dreams are not lucid. How do you even know when you're having a lucid dream?
You pick up a good point. I mean, lucidity I see as a spectrum. Kind of want to remove a little bit of the misnomer out there that it's either on or off, or you're lucid or you're not. I
Right.
mean, same as waking life, how much awake are you? Sometimes different, sometimes daydreamy, sometimes really alert.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a good
an
point. Yeah.
RPM needle of lucidity could go up and down. And let's say there's an official, I don't know how official, but a cutoff where you can say, oh, wow, this is a dream. And I realize my body's in bed. So that's kind of a little bit more the definition of being lucid.
Hmm.
And yeah, you might have a lucid dream and not remember it. That's happened because sometimes I remember them a few days later or once in a while, a bit rare, but people wake up in the sleep lab and they were kind of awoken without waking up themselves, and they'll have had a lucid dream or a dream during which they knew they were dreaming. But more often than not, it's pretty damn exciting, and lots of like breaking and waking practical applications. So people usually wake up pretty excited.
Now, I have a question for you. Did you, as somebody who obviously was fascinated with dreams at a very early time in your life, did you have a process of going through what dreams meant to you? I mean, did it start off, did you feel like maybe you were visiting alternate lives or alternate dream worlds? And how did you relate to the dream world versus the world of your living, breathing body?
Right. Well, there's a various me's, if we put little quote marks around it, different me's are for different moments, even in dreams, even in waking, even in other states or halfway between or bridging both, which is kind of interesting. I teach lucid living. That's my brand. So trying to be as present, or I guess like inclusive, as integrated as possible in all states, dreaming, waking, and maybe other. So I guess I could say my first cosmology was just like I was kind of diving for bottles and getting the dreams, like you go in the lake, you come out. What's this? Have a look. Is it something interesting? Is it valuable? And then
Uh-huh.
later it expanded a lot more to kind of, I guess, include all the fauna, flora. I'm using the analogy there, but what's in the lake? How does it affect the people that are above the surface? What can you do on the surface that affects the stuff in the lake? And how can you start to bring dreams into waking and some of the waking skills, technology into dreams? I guess in short, that was kind of what I've been doing for 30, 40 years here.
Now, you mentioned that there are a number of music icons that have used dreams for hearing the melody or creating the song, or how does it come in for like Paul McCartney or Billy Joel or Taylor Swift or some of these other people you mentioned?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like it because people kind of know the artist, so there's a little bit of trust built in there.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
everybody has a little different sort of flavor style. I guess like we have different ways of talking or dressing or however we do our activities in waking life. Same
Mhm.
thing for dreaming. Same thing for kind of inner perceptions. For example, I think Sir McCartney actually dreamt the melody for yesterday. Just had the melody, and later, well, John Lennon said he dreamt the title, but it looked like the title eventually came. But he just plunked out the chords and said, "Hey, wait, this is so familiar. I'm sure I nicked it." That was his word. And
Wow.
he checked with the other Beatles, and maybe after a month or two, he kind of said, "Okay, it seems kind of unique." But the other Beatles said, "You got to change the first lyrics. Scrambled eggs. Oh my baby, how I love your legs. That's not going to work." And so he kind of morphed it into this kind of choral with like instruments yesterday, and went big. In fact, it was so new. Like dreams bring in these really new DNA, idea, movement, emotional things that the actual all Beatles didn't even want to be recorded on that. They said it's going to be a McCartney experiment, and if it goes well, then it can be a Beatles song. And obviously, after 18 weeks, I think it was at number one, they said, "Okay, that's a great Beatles song, isn't it?" Some people actually see sound, which is very interesting. Synesthesia, you might have heard of
Synesthesia,
that.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a real thing. We've often wondered whether or not it's even possible to somehow use media to trigger it off.
I would
Any,
say for sure, how about a
yeah.
visualization that's turning sound into visuals?
You mean
You
like
could certainly turn visuals
going from
into
one to
sound.
the other?
Yeah, it's converting
Slowly.
senses. Senses. I had an interesting dream where I saw this very interesting morphing golden red, almost like ribbons and curls. Waking up, I realized that the music I was hearing wasn't really different from the visuals. It might have been flip sides of a coin, but I'm not even sure that's good because they were both there together. So I
Yeah.
thought, oh, there's some kind of like prima materia or some like universal something that comes through the different senses as experience. And we could call it visual, we can call it music, touch. I'm actually pretty unique here. I have a synesthesia where I hear touch. Do you guys have anything like that?
Hearing touch. No, no, that's.
No.
Or any others, sort of like you translate writing into music. So people have some very interesting synesthesias. Mozart
Yes.
has had a pretty interesting one. He sort of saw his composition entirely completed, kind of like this huge kind of crystal. And he says, I realized that I'm going to have to write this down later as like sort of parallel parts to be played by the orchestra. And it's going to have to be played in time. But he said, I saw it and see it all in one moment. And the whole thing completed, finished in a visual kind of huge structure.
Yeah, time distortion.
It's hard to kind of translate that stuff into a waking experience, but something, let's say, a deep inner sense that you do your best.
You know, I had a poem come to me when I was doing a college project where I was trying to learn to paint. And as I was transmitting the poem, I was writing the words into the painting. And the words were about spinning and spiraling. And I wasn't even conscious of it, of how when I actually wrote the words into the painting, they came out spinning and spiraling so that the letters were kind of reversed. And the word itself was turning into a spiral. So
Wow.
I guess
And
that's
like
kind of this,
anagrams
in
and
that it was
palindromes.
an inverted pattern, but it's more like the word swirling looped in the middle and sort of was facing backwards and then turned around again, you know.
Got it. Well, that's kind of stuff is a bit hard to translate. If you try to translate into a certain format, like you better read this book or, this audio podcast has to be in a certain order. It's going to be tough to sort of get the original experience. Billy Joel, who actually says he dreams every song he ever wrote, says, I never am able to reproduce what I hear in my dreams, but as a waking artist, I do my best. Remember that song, "In the Middle of the Night," River
Yeah.
of Dreams?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's sort of like that Beatles Yesterday song. He was a dreamer for a while, dreaming music and album covers and things. But then he got this like really different African gospel kind of whole with the choirs. And he said, that's not me. He's a New Yorker. That's not me. That's so not me. I know because he's on the same Discovery Channel special as I. And so he said he went to the shower and said, no, I'm not doing that thing. And it just kept coming and pushing and kind of calling and I guess alluring him. He says, okay, here we go, gospel song. And he got a gospel choir and he got #1 hit and the album title and everything.
Wow, that's great. So dreaming really gives you access to things that you don't see as yourself. Like it's a whole different creative, or I don't know, do you think that it's internal, or do you think that you're discovering something in the universe? Like are you flying astrally and landing in new sets, or is it
Could it,
something being created?
could it be a channeling?
Yeah, all of the above and surely more. It sort of ends up who's using which words and how they want to fit it into their paradigm, into their
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. How do you explain it?
Astral could be good. Some of those align with lucid dreams, some don't. Sort of there's levels, so it doesn't have to be exactly a full dream. It might be a half awake or connect with the physical world. It might be sort of tip of the iceberg as the waking self, although who knows, I think it might be more like the Greek god Janus, who has one head facing the outer world and one facing the inner world. And when you get lucky, both heads turn inward to the dream and you go lucid, or they turn outward in life and it gets very synchronistic.
Mm,
So there
yeah.
could be lots of ways of interpreting. But the interesting thing is it definitely is kind of like an inner net, which is a little different from the internet. I'm using an analogy there, but the internet that has so many other levels to it, just like the internet had so much info that we can't see, but we've found ways and we're finding ways to sort of bring it
Sure.
public. We're
Now that
finding
brings a
ways
big
to
point.
put
Is
it in
that
our life.
is there such a thing as an internet? Is that like the Jungian collective unconscious, or is it more like the internet where you can ask and get answers?
Well, in
Yes,
other words,
I
do
would
we
say.
visit a shared space that everybody is
Yeah.
tuning into? Like Jung sort of
The
had that
Tibetans
idea.
talked about dream
Collective
school,
unconscious.
Right. Or
collective unconscious, dream school. Tibetans had a whole way of thinking of dream space as being a normal part of your reality,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they have a lot of lucidity techniques that kind of framed a lot of the experience. They're very good in techniques, Tibetans. The framing, or let's say the theories, are a little different than Western, but they can be very helpful. They
Uh-huh.
do overlap with some science, and in some cases they don't. But certainly, there's been examples we can sort of meet people and get, let's say, dream scenes that are more or less reproducible. Like I saw this, you saw that from a different perspective. It's a little more rare, but there's tons and tons of mutual dreaming or theming. That's what I say. So you might have like a word or a character or a sound or a backdrop or colors that are in common, but the theme is kind of there. So you know that you're both in a shared space of some sort, like way more than just randomly.
If you could reproduce some scene that it might trigger off some memory from that space. Like I noticed the computers are really seem to be good at dream space. It's particularly great at cosmic psychedelic dream spaces. They're almost easy for them. It seems to me like maybe lucidity dream spaces might be great too.
Well, lucidity can be a pretty strong tool for that kind of thing because you can sort of choose where, how, who. I've had myself and students who are quite good at choosing or manipulating into a shared space. Usually they'll write me separately and they'll sort of say, I saw this and this and this, check in with so-and-so, I check in. And before I reveal to either one, I sort of look at all the cross. And sometimes it's like mind-blowingly accurate. So it's a question of personal belief. And if you believe it, that opens the door to the experience, which is the interesting thing. I say just keep an open mind and you can have future dreams, mutual dreams, clairvoyant, all kinds of interesting things.
So yeah, dream space and psychic space. Have you spent time comparing those two understandings?
Psych phenomenon. Have you experienced
Absolutely.
Telepathy?
Yeah. Like What the Future. That's a great name for a show, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for the idea. I think I got it in a dream, I think.
I wonder
when was that? Was it recently? Oh, where
maybe that was your future self calling back with your show title. You never know.
Well, there you go. No, do you believe that's possible? Do you think that time itself is?
I do meet my probable and future alternate selves somewhat often in dreams.
Really?
And sometimes it's very clear they're speaking to me sort of as a future me or a past me, and they're saying, "Please don't make this choice," Or a future self with a really beautiful feeling says, come here, this is a great one. If you sort of call this person today, it'll open the doorway that comes to this future. So sometimes it's very easy to track, and other times it's just like, let's say, I think Charlie Wilson, he sort of woke up and his wife woke up with this powerful dream that said, you could get a Grammy nomination if you sort of record this music. So, they recorded on a little voice recorder, and he's like, nomination, that's pretty specific, but he didn't really have any details or how to. So, but later they sort of polished it, worked on it, they acted on it, which I think is a really, really important step. You ask, what does the dream want? And not just what does it mean? And they acted on it, and then it became a song, and they got nominated for a Grammy. So exactly what they foresaw in the dream. A calling dream that's calling for a certain event that could touch people's lives, right?
Wow. Now, Craig, it sounds like you have, at a certain point in your life, used technology to both understand what's happening physically and maybe also classify or categorize what's going on. What are your...
well, I like the interface where sort of our culture is a pretty unique gift, like the Tibetans, at least old-time Tibetans. And some of the earlier cultures, Sumerians, maybe Romans, etc., didn't have the technology level that we have, or at least not the type of technology we have with electronics. So I think it's appropriate, and I personally get really jazzed when we bring some of those things, computers, gizmos, that kind of stuff, into sort of consciousness exploration, or at least tracking, logging. So I have a dream database as one kind of computer simple way of correlating, bringing together dreams. You can use this AI, which is actually two of the initials of my first name. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, tell me, how exactly could AI help us with our dreams? Okay.
My view of AI currently, as it sort of stands, but there's so many angles to it. It's collecting the collective and making it relatable in a first person way. Like I can go to a Chat GPT or a Gemini or Grok or something, and I can ask a question, let's say about my dream. It doesn't have to be about a dream, but then I'm getting the wiki wisdom of anybody else who's ever written or made a video or shared an experience somewhere about that. So I'm kind of relating to the collective conscious. So it's definitely got that angle. And if it kind of has been gathering people's dreams, it depends a little bit how it was trained, right? And if it was getting some good guidance on principles, like if it read my book, for example, which is full of lots of principles that are actual experiences too, then it could really tailor it better and better. And you could start to get some pretty accurate interpretations, probably suggest some actions you could take on your dream. And I use it for that. And even just correlating on our own, keyword search of somebody I haven't met for a while and I run into, I find out I dreamt of them a week before after not seeing them for 6 years.
The dreams behind the music.
Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent. Excellent.
And doing really well. It's all 5-star reviews on Amazon. So I'm glad the 3,000 or 4,000 hours I put into it seems worth it.
Well,
It wasn't
definitely.
just a weekend project. It was a big one. Lots of interviews, 250 artists actually I have in there or so now.
Wow.
And there's just amazing, amazing correlations like metadata that I wouldn't have seen if I just interviewed one or two,
Oh, yeah. Give us a little aha, like as you were putting this book together. Did you have any moments that were just gobsmacking?
Every day and night. So, as you know, I think most of the listeners and viewers can relate here. When you start to work on something, or if you sleep on it, you start to dream on what you're thinking, which sort of dreams go both ways. In this case, I'm writing the book for 4 years. I was dreaming about the principles, which a lot of which I included. I was dreaming about the artists, who to speak to, seeing some of the metadata mixed. I mean, some things blew me away, like example, kind of specifics get interesting. Jimi Hendrix actually ends up visiting living guitarists from the deceased realm and giving them very specific training on how to do very fancy guitar chords and riffs and things like this.
Yeah. So what is it? Talking to the dead? Are you saying that's
Well, there's a whole chapter about the deceased visiting the waking. There's tons. So they often bring gifts of songs. Example from Bay Area there for you and your friend Bob and any of my other friends from Bay Area. The Grateful Dead. Actually, Bob Weir, who just passed recently. But before he passed, he would have Jerry Garcia come in a dream, talk with a while, bring him a new song, and they'd sort of wrestle and dance with it. And he turned those into like waking songs. And he was pretty clear it was Jerry coming in his visitation kind of beyond the realm of the living form to give him some, sort of collaboration across the veil kind of thing.
Oh, right.
And there's others who've done that too. There's like 20 other examples in the book.
I can just hear Bob saying, "Thanks, Jerry. I'm so grateful."
It's a new meaning to Grateful Dead, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In this cosmic jam, our spirits sing.
So what about extraterrestrials?
That could be an interpretation. Anything that's not coming from our experience is sort of extra or beyond the terrestrial, right? Yeah, intra, beyond, what do you call that? Let's say omni-terrestrial. I don't know if that's
Yeah, so all's possible. Good dream space doesn't leave much out, does it? Especially if you consider lucidity.
Yeah, well, connecting to the internet, just like the internet, there's so much out there. We'll probably never know what all is available, but we can start to see certain, like I'm just using the analogy, apps or certain ways or types of dreams, certain ways of having techniques that bring about certain experiences. Simple enough as fall asleep with a question and see if you wake with the answer. Hey, I want to have my most amazing guest for our next podcast. There's a radio show host who actually interviews her guests because she dreams of them. I was lucky to be
Really?
on her show. So I guess my inner CV there on the dream realm must be pretty good because I got some airtime on that show. But lots of other techniques, like you can see friends, you can visit with people and check in waking life. In fact, it happens all the time. It's just that some people don't really have that openness, or they just don't track it. Like ask your sleeping partner if you're with somebody, or a family member if you're not with somebody, and see if they dreamt something with you. And you'll find out like probably 1 out of 3 days they had some similar theme or maybe the same dream.
Other animals dream too, right?
There's a very interesting research, because sometimes I pull in science. Spiders have been more or less scientifically proven to dream.
Seriously.
And then you go, well, how the heck could you ever? It doesn't write down in
How
the
do you
dream
know?
journal.
I mean, what does the spider think when it's
You
lucid?
put like ink on his butt and he drags out he shows you what he dreamt. No, actually, they watch their eyes and they see that they have certain sleep cycles that seem to mirror very closely with sort of REM cycles. So it's presumed that they're having sort of altered states where they're actually seeing experience without acting it out, which is more or less dreams, right?
Oh, interesting.
Well, I heard of this experiment where they gave LSD to spiders and then they generated geometrically different spider webs, that were dramatically different than normal.
I've heard the same thing. I didn't speak to the spiders, so I don't want to give my affidavit on that experience. But I'm sure it's possible. Let's just think that a spider is channeling something pretty inner universe level. And one of the sources that I like, it's a little bit out there, says it channels one of the inner sense that's very close to sort of universal truth when it's making its web. So if you're altering, let's say it's consciousness flow, I'm sure you're going to alter how the web is made, or
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by it.
Well, I wonder how that might improve interspecies communication.
It probably would. I mean, altered states allow us to kind of tune to inner senses, which is, I think, a pretty good way for people to sort of speak across language barriers, across maybe race barriers, who knows, even across like species barriers. There's some explorations with AI, which is sort of, let's say, a bit of a dreamy waking technology, and speaking with whales, sort of tracking and monitoring what's known and then exploring beyond to what's unknown so far. Could that happen right into dreams? I don't see why not.
It might be a shared realm for all of us. I think the collective unconscious perhaps might be more than just our species.
Yeah. I think the collective unconscious is even just like one channel on the inner realm of inner senses. Dreams are maybe a number of channels, but if you start to tune in to things that aren't physical, which happens all the time, sometimes you just get a thought of somebody they call a moment later.
Yeah,
Sometimes a synchronicity
okay.
happens and you didn't really like dream it necessarily. You don't remember a deja vu, but you just know that the probabilities of that are like impossible. Or a deceased comes and all of a sudden you get this really clear guidance that turns out very practical. So there's lots of inner senses. And I believe that's one way to help bridge some of the barriers we run into in this waking language stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
You've been in this for so many years now. Has your normal wake state of consciousness shifted from what it was in any way that you can remember? I mention this because I've heard stories that, like some very high beings, Tibetan lamas, when you hang out with them, their normal state of consciousness is almost like our dream space. It's much more fluid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm definitely wired at times, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely rewired. For sure, I'll have neural pathways. I think anybody who learns a skill, like a musician, bike riding, sports, whatever, is going to have a certain aptitude for that. Same thing for dreaming, or let's say consciousness exploration. I'm sure you guys do. I would say that the paradigms, which I've taken a lot of time to put together, sort of the principles, maybe the perennial philosophy of different cultures and different belief systems, that gets pretty interesting when it starts becoming universal. So that's what I kind of hold. And those universal, let's say, beliefs or paradigms, or the way that I see life, the frameworks, totally affect waking life. That's what I teach in my teleclasses when I say lucid living. It's this whole multi-level framework that allows you to interpret any experience in a way that benefits you and others, like practical stuff.
Bringing back of personal intuition into the way that you set your priorities is something the planet is long overdue for.
Oh, yeah. Well, you might know that you just topped one of the best selling points. People don't necessarily connect the words, but intuition is the same as dream recall or dreaming. But we just dream during the night with the senses turned off, and intuition usually has the senses somewhat on. But imagine if you could develop intuition just by recalling and recording your dreams, which is true. So that's the gut feelings, the hunches that usually play out for pretty beneficial things. Even if you never look at the data or content, just record dreams and you're opening up that channel.
You do a dream journal yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I speak it, sometimes I tap it in, sometimes I write it. Sometimes I'll actually just embody, like dance, move it. Dreams embodied is a pretty good way to find what they want, not just what they mean. Sharing with other people, that's one way to record them and see how they connect.
When you wake up in the morning, do you have any routine that would include remembering your dreams?
Absolutely. For many years, I've been able to share techniques that people have found very helpful. The analogy is right in front of you there, Hassan and Al.
Yeah.
The mixer, the audio mixer, right? Or the video mixer.
Both.
So we have these multiple channels of, let's say, the physical senses, but there's a few other channels that aren't the physical senses. Maybe you could just say one other channel, but I'm sure there's more than one. And if you turn down the physical channels, let's say the audio for Craig, Bob, and Al, then you'll hear Sun really well because the other sort of noise on the signal is reduced. The same thing for the dreaming channel. And the analogy is if you keep your kind of ears or sound quiet as you wake up, like no alarm, or just suggest to your body or suggest yourself, hey, I'll wake up at the perfect time for my day with enough time to recall my dream. And then you set your physical alarm if you absolutely have to get to a meeting or to school or whatever. That's okay. But you can wake up by intuition or by suggestion a little before, and then the audio goes low. And then you try not to open your eyes when you wake up. That's very important because the visuals really blow out the dreams pretty quick. Or if you rolled around, you changed body position, you moved your head or something, just kind of move back to the same position you woke up into because touch and balance and blood flow really affect it. And just those three things could really, really help a lot. And then you go fishing. If you have a little feeling, an idea, a word, a name, a person you're thinking about, just follow it and see if a dream pops in, kind of like fishing, pulling in the fish of what the dream was.
Cool.
A few little
Sounds
Betty
very
Crocker
helpful.
tips, but they'll bake a good dream cake.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
great, Craig. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's good to have some
I remember
pragmatic
laughing with
tips.
you guys. You have like a really friendly, kind of easygoing, interactive style that it's not always there. So
Yeah.
appreciating that.
Yeah. Well, nothing like a good conversation. It takes you places where you weren't expecting to go.
Yeah, and
I
it helps
love
to
that.
know you a little bit too.
Yeah.
Hey, I think your other co-host or host, his name's a palindrome, son. You were telling me about your poetry where words come and go.
Bob.
So Bob goes backward and forwards, and I guess keeps afloat more than we do.
Well, Bobby's our anchor. He's
Yeah.
he likes to get the real science down for the things that might be a little
That's
more
good.
woo.
So he keeps afloat and he's an anchor. That's pretty interesting.
I had a chance to actually try the Nova Dreamer. A friend of mine had this Nova Dreamer. It wasn't working. I took a look at it. It looked like the battery contacts weren't working. So I was playing with it for about a week and fixed it. And then the next week I tried the Nova Dreamer, and sure enough, about a week later, I woke up in the dream and had the lights flashing and the sounds going at the same time. So that woke me up in the dream.
It creates an incorporation. So that's a fancy word to say something from sort of the waking senses, which are mostly turned off, but sort of joins in the dream, like a flashing lights, or it could be a sound or touch, sometimes touch, depending. I actually created a sensor where temperature sort of got incorporated in the dreams, but I also burnt my finger in waking life. You got to do the R&D a little bit in waking life before you try it in bed. It ends up being empowering if you really set your intentions and your consciousness accordingly. Like, okay, every time I see this sort of certain kind of flashing red lights or whatever the cue is. Because if you don't sort of use your, let's say, empowered consciousness with it, then it just becomes a technical crutch and usually burns out quickly or might even disempower you. So I say, hey, stay empowered. And then, yeah, why not use some of the technology? It's great.
Well, Dan Kotke, who lives in
Sure,
Palo
I know
Alto,
Daniel well.
he showed me a gadget that blinked red light when you were experiencing REM. I think it was. Was that the Nova Dreamer?
Dreamlight, probably.
Yeah. What
It might have been the Nova Dreamer or the Dreamlight, depends when it was.
was the
I think I
Dreamlight?
showed you the Nova Dreamer too, there, Al, because I designed it and was probably showing it off quite a bit then. It blinks lights. It had a little audio that can incorporate into dreams. It had other features, so there's other ways to help. Technology can help. It had a simple button that sort of when you press it on the front of the dream mask, you wear it while you sleep. That just quickly flashed the lights. Hey, that's crazy. My phone just jumped. So I'm going to do a reality check here just because it's a bit dreamy when the phone jumped when I pressed my button. Maybe you guys are pressing my buttons.
No, we
But
had a
anyway.
surge on this side too.
Yeah, we
There's
heard it too.
definitely
Some
some,
weird sound.
we're
Yeah,
having
just a
some
second before you
interdimensional
talked.
Because we're
contact.
getting so dreamlike right now. But
I
anyways,
know.
when you press the reality check button, it's a way to sort of test if you're awake or asleep.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard to recreate changes in light levels in dreams. So if you press a button and the lights don't flash, you could say, oh my gosh, this is a fake Nova Dreamer, and I'm actually in dream. I'm actually dreaming,
The
even
cheap
though it looks
copy of
pretty
one.
damn real.
It's a fake dream. Oh no, I'm meeting the AIs.
A reality test. I like that. You bring a reality test into your dreams.
Right. Well, actually, the reality check is in your waking life, but you're never sure
Oh.
in any moment if you're waking or
see.
dreaming. So you just do your check. And hey, if you're dreaming with like one guy called in when I was doing tech support and we were sort of R&D, and he says, "Hey man, this mask doesn't work here. I pressed it like 6-7 times and it just doesn't flash." It had new batteries, so I checked it and it was flashing fine. I said, "Well, can you tell me when it didn't work? Because it seems to be work. I don't want to make him sound bad." And he says, "Well, I think it was the other day while I was walking around with it on." And I said, wait a moment. I didn't want to make him look bad. I just said, "Oh, you're walking around with the mask on?" And he goes, yeah, I was pressing in and walking. And I said, were you able to see? He goes, well, that's interesting because how was I able? And he was starting to wonder. I said, I don't think that was actually a real mask. That was a dream Nova Dreamer. And maybe, you know what? Next time, if you press the button, it doesn't flash, just leave me a message on my phone. And so I never got the message. So I guess he got the message that, dreams can seem very real. We need a way to check reality while we're in them.
Well, it does
Not
great.
always, but sometimes we do.
I know, but it seems like that's what dreams do. They play with fantasy to reality and imagination and other remote connection to others and all kinds of stuff. But what do you think of Ursula Le Guin's book on this? There's a book about dreaming where the man in the story worked with a psychologist where his dreams became reality. And they started using
Okay,
that
wow.
to recreate reality. But it took the psychologist teamed with the dreamer to be able to work as a team to create the future. Is there anything to that at all in reality from what you've seen?
I could answer you guys with an experiment. Would you like to try an experiment?
Sure, yeah.
Sure, we're up.
Yeah.
All right. And all the listeners, viewers, if you want to get into it, this is interactive. This isn't just listen only mode. If you're driving, don't try it. But if you're here now listening, and especially before sleep, try to name anything in your current environment. Just name something that is in your experience is probably a better way to phrase it. That hasn't been affected or, let's say, changed by or didn't come directly from a human thought. See what you can name. Anything?
Oh, you want us to do it aloud? You want us to tell you?
You can throw out a few things.
And a crow has just, launched itself off of a branch out the window. That's not from human consciousness.
Feelings, a light beam on a leaf, probably it's just a feeling of warmth.
Okay, nice. That's good. It does take a little while when you start to think, hey, wait, the computer, the chair, the iPhone, the guy who's present on the interview because we, scheduled at this time, a conscious thought to meet at the.
Yes.
That all comes from like a human thought. Yes, the crow maybe, but the fact you can see it and where you are at that moment and that the window is sort of between you, it's a little bit altered, etc. Even the beam of light, which kind of goes, that'll be reflected from the angle you're seeing it and the leaf that you might have planted the tree or the way that the crystal is kind of in your window or what. So usually most things are actually either affected or, let's say, changed by or directly from most inventions. Most things that we use with our hands are from a human thought directly. And then it's not really a big step to say, where do thoughts come from? And wow, if thoughts are the whole sea of my experience, like we live in a sea of waking thought, then dreams are really just a step away because most thoughts have come from dreams. So you could say all our experience and just across time is actually dreamt. Edgar Cayce, a source I like quite a bit, says every experience ever coming into your physical realm was at first a dream.
A dream within a dream within a dream.
What I call applied dreaming, which is pretty close to your psychologist book. How can we pretty, intentionally, actively take stuff from a dream, like the 250 artists in my book, and bring it into waking form of some sort, an invention, a song, maybe a show, a podcast, or just speaking to a friend or our mother because we dreamt of them, or eating something that we saw in a dream because it's sort of a diet suggestion, and turn it into something that can help or benefit somebody, because that's where it gets interesting.
Maybe some media that can take us from waking dream to a lucid sleeping dream.
Absolutely. Or keep you on the half awake border even.
Yes. Yeah. How do you do that? That's where the blinking lights come in, I gather. That's where.
Well, the blinking lights are timed and they have biofeedback in there. So they're monitoring your eye movements. The Nova Dreamer, anyways, there's probably other blinking lights like light and sound machines. But the Nova Dreamer will actually track your eye movements and has a very specific timing, according to lots of sleep lab research, to flash at a certain moment. So that it's actually during your pretty deep sleep. If you had a little electrode in your chin for muscle tonus, you'd see that you were totally out there, relaxed. You're not just thinking, waking, half awake. Then it flashes and sort of helps jar that part of you that's normally, I guess, really out. The physical waking mind sort of joins you a little bit to differing extents, but it joins you in the dream and go, holy crap, I'm in a dream,
To be able to say holy crap and not take you out of the dream, I guess, would be the key. Is to how do you
that
stay
ends up
there,
as
right?
lucidity skills, right? Because one of the first things many people do on their first lucid dreams is get too excited and they can't modulate and they wake up. That takes a little bit of training, but not too much usually. Just have a specific experiment planned.
Yeah. I suppose after you've done it a few times, you stop getting
Yeah, sure.
surprised by it and can stay in
Like
that
a
space.
skateboard or like bike riding or something.
It takes practice, huh?
Yeah, sometimes pretty quick though, like one or two. You go, oh, that was silly. Why didn't I just talk to the man instead of running away and waking up? Even though he looks scary, it's just a dream.
You can tell it's a dream because you feel perfectly safe.
Yeah. Hey,
Well, you have to use the sort of the waking crutch of knowing that, because in the dream, the emotional experience can still be very strong. Like, oh my God, this murder is terrible. It's part of my shadow, right? That's probably why it's in my face. So the fear is going to be real, but then you have the waking kind of tool or a crutch that says, nope, body's safe in bed. Let's go for it. Let's fly through the wall. Let's talk to this guy. Let's, I don't know, dance into the fire, whatever the action is. Just make sure you're dreaming. Do a reality check first.
so,
Don't jump out the second story window before you do your reality check.
so you confront your nightmares, do you?
Often, in fact, that's one of the big applications of dreams. The article that I'm lucky enough to have go around the world says nightmares. Lucky you.
You do
That's
it in your
true, though,
better in your
because,
dreams than in
like,
reality, you know?
why not start getting the lessons of what we're afraid of or addicted to, or that we're just like distracted like heck from? Because some of the nightmares are about distractions, and learn how to kind of get those skills into our character, and then it translates into waking actions.
Yeah. You think we should have dream school and put into our educational system?
Great idea.
Absolutely.
I like
Please.
that.
Yeah, do you start with the kids
Absolutely.
or
Well, there are programs here and there. They're a little sparse, but actually have sort of dreams, even like doctorate programs.
I think you could
I'd
do a
love to
dream
see it way
club.
more, though.
Yeah.
You could have a
Dreams
club.
I mean, what would a dream club like instead of going to the gym or an extra room at the gym where you can dream?
Yeah, there you go.
Or go to the gym and act out your dreams, like the German Olympic ski team who practices aerial maneuvers in their lucid dreams before they try them out.
Wow.
So that if they wipe out, if they fall, they kind of, they don't try that maneuver the next day. Or if it goes really well, they're learning the balance, maybe the confidence to actually do it in their waking skill. And then they do very well in the tryouts or the Olympics.
Well, that's interesting. What's your ability to have proprioceptus in your dreams? Have you ever paid attention to that?
I'm not sure what the
What do you
word
mean by
means.
that?
Oh,
Show my
proprioceptus
ignorance
means
here.
consciousness of your body.
Body awareness?
Oh, okay. Sepsis is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Proprioceptus.
Oh, well, maybe I'm saying the wrong word, but I think that's what it means.
No, that's
first
okay.
part is right.
Sepsis alone means sort of like a whole system shock.
Proprioception.
Perception, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like it. Thanks for that word. I'm able to tune into like the physical body occasionally. Certainly the dream body. Sometimes it mimics waking senses. Sometimes it has experiences that are way deeper or more vivid, but I'm using waking words. Or sometimes I get experiences of feeling, I guess is what we're talking about right now, that are like not emotions, but they're not physical senses either, but I'm really feeling them. Like when I sort of feel music, I like really tactile feel it. But how do you feel music? You don't run your fingers over the nose.
The dream doesn't just dissolve the world, it dissolves every aspect of
It could
who
be like
you
the
are.
full like body, Craig, or it could be the antibody like level of one cell that's saying, I feel all kinds of stuff.
You think it's possible you could fall asleep in one body and wake up in another?
Yeah, well, I've actually had a dream of being like a blood cell. I think there's a movie about this, Osmosis Jones. Have you guys seen that?
Osmosis
cool.
Jones? No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great movie, and it could answer your question, but at least it's a fun Friday night. But where he kind of goes around inside the body, and I've experienced myself, like me, my identity in the dream, as one cell traveling around, meeting up with different, characters, different cells, different ways of delivering my goods to different locations in the physical body.
Yeah.
So
Rick
there's
and
lots of
Morty. Rick and Morty have an
experiences you can
episode
have.
of that. Yeah.
Right. There was Raquel Welch had Fantastic Voyage.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it just reminded me of Raquel Welch in Fantastic Voyage, the movie.
And then it reminds me of cellular intelligence. Bruce Lipton's work that the body has intelligence on different levels, like on the cellular level, and perhaps dream space might access that level of awareness of our proprioception. Because after all, the cells are part of us, right? And when they're feeling is part of us. Yeah.
And body work, actually like feeling a dream, or if we saw like, let's say I think recently I saw a big sort of bloody spot on my ankle. So waking life, I sort of check it out. It wasn't like a physical mark, which sometimes actual dreams bring marks. But in this case, I said, okay, maybe on the emotional body or some level of my psychic body or something. There's sort of a little bit of a injury there, and I sort of clean off the aura, the waking life. I put on some arnica and my actual physical skin. And I like sort of treat the physical body with energy, feeling, and feel into the feelings. And that's a very good way to sort of integrate dreams, dream body work through the feeling sense of kind of, I guess, what the dream wants from a feeling or movement level.
Mm. And then there's dancing and trance dancing and various states that your body can get in
Goofy
that way.
dancing. Right?
Yeah, right. And can you ever dance and dream at the same time?
That's a good question. I think it takes each person to answer it, but you can certainly dance within dreams.
But there's daydreams too. Now, how do you understand daydreams? Is it a lucid dream? Daydreams aren't the same as lucid dreams.
Well, there's lots of levels. Each
Yeah.
person will use it a little differently, so that you should check that first.
Yeah.
But let's say we're talking about something where I'm sort of physical, but I'm a little bit tuned out to the environment.
Yeah.
A dream where you sort of lose the sense might be more of a channeling moment or a deja vu, depends the levels. But I would say an altered state of consciousness. Certainly, a lot of the principles apply from dreams. Sort of interpreting the symbols, maybe feeling into it. Hey, what's the feeling? Does that connect with my life? Was there a specific color that might sort of translate to an emotion? Did I hear something? Can I sort of play that sound for somebody else? Like Tuvan shamans from Russia and I think Siberia and different places around Mongolia and stuff. They'll actually sort of get a channeled, let's say, dreamy, daydream, and sometimes deep sleep at night music. And then the therapy, the gift, when they're working with one of the tribes people, they'll just have a little melody or a song that they heard, and they'll say, sing it or feel into this all day or this week, and just sing it and sing it. You don't have to know anything, but just tune into it and feel into it, and you'll be all healed. And they have obviously some good results in terms of helping relationships, maybe even helping sicknesses. So
dream
there's
healing.
some weird
Dream
stuff
healing,
out there.
So I have
Yeah.
a kind of a odd segue because the things that I've been thinking about lately are trends in the world and in society, and if people are, as a whole, going more towards being more unified in the way that they're approaching problems in reality, or whether they're being more isolated and trying to do it more on their own. And I'm just wondering if dreams are more useful for creating unity or for creating personal approaches to things, you know?
Individuality or unity?
I would go to David Bohm. I don't know if you guys know the physicist, the intricate order and the extricate order. Or let's say the universal principle, the eye on the pyramid at the top, the one thing that's common to everybody, and then the very specific different blocks at the bottom of the pyramid. So every, let's say, experience will have those levels. You could have like fire and everybody has a universal fire, but then the specifics end up being very important. Was it a fire in a fireplace? Kind of a warm, comfort, hearth feeling? Or was it a fire out of control? Was it somebody firing a gun? Or different. There's lots of levels of what that universal could mean that really affect my past, my future. And yet, if we go to like fire is universal, it's going to be transformation. It's going into the state that matter goes into, sort of like the plasma state where there's lots of moving ions that aren't like locked in. So there's going to be some shakeup.
But you're kind of feeling it can swing both ways. It really is
Yeah, it
how the
includes both.
individual plays with it.
Ideally, I like how you use that word. Swinging is good as we're learning something because life is full of duality or opposites, right?
Yeah.
Male, female, high, low, whatever, dark, light. And so you could say dreaming, awakening. I'm not sure they're opposites exactly, but I like to say integrate the opposites if you can. I mean, it takes a little while. It's okay to swing at the start, but eventually you can sort of hold this very interesting balance where you can see all the symbolism, interpret life as a dream, let's say, and then do the practical stuff, the business decisions, operate the technology, walk, do an athlete, and ideally integrate the opposites, not just swing.
Oh, great. See, because the reason why I love your immersion in all of this with so much energy, Craig, is because you have really dedicated yourself to this world that is so important and that has been so diminished in our Western mind culture, that somehow dreams are not as important as science because it doesn't put you in the real world enough. And yet it is so important to so many people. It might be very healing.
Thanks for hearing me, Sen, and sort of hearing the essence of who I am. I really try to bridge like the science or the mind, the linear, the sort of intellect, and then the more intuitive, invisible feeling. I'm still a recovering thinkaholic, so I'm not exactly prepared.
Do you like it when your rationality dissolves?
Right. Well, I get thrown into it at different times. I've been kidnapped by dreams before, or lots of variations on a theme that help me try to integrate it from either pain, pushed by the pain, but usually it's better to be pulled by a vision than pushed by the pain.
Yeah.
But I will note that good old Descartes, Rene Descartes, actually had his three very powerful dreams that led to the whole model of sort of the scientific hypothesis and the scientific method. And so if science, or at least some of the whole thinking mechanism behind it, came from dreams, how trippy is that? So
Yeah.
in my book, I talk about it, and then I say, not just I think, therefore I am, but why not I dream, therefore who am I?
Oh, beautiful. Well, that's great. Who are
Who
you?
the heck am
How
I? What
can
the
we
future?
find you
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
this talk is over?
That is good. Though I do got to ask you though. Do you think that dreams are evolving? Are they changing through time, or did humans dream the same 100 years ago as they do now? And or
Absolutely.
yeah, or is there
You
a
couldn't have
universe?
even have asked that question if it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
There's
Is
an
it?
infinite loop for it.
But you're saying that also you future selves can also get into this, and so the future selves from your 1890s self could get into this too,
Absolutely.
right? So
Reincarnational selves, alternate selves who took different decisions, even like parallel selves. I mean, you could start to use language, but it breaks down into like some deep core experience that the
wow.
physical senses can't follow so easily, right?
Have you ever been in a dream party? Where there's a lot of different entities there, like a Fellini movie?
Sure.
Yeah, how do
Why
you
not?
invite people to your dream
Inception, why
party?
not?
Inception.
I think you better watch your dreams tonight. You might have like
I think
listeners.
so. If you're watching, and does it matter what you watch before you go to sleep?
And maybe if you guys get just quiet, we're dreaming all the time. I believe we tune in when we turn off the physical senses. But even now,
Yeah.
you're getting pretty dreamy with like iPhones jumping around and glitches when you press the reality check button.
I know it's getting weirder, and we have to be more rational and more dreamy at the same time. And,
Well,
I
we've
guess it
taken
is
the
evolved.
idea of
Yeah.
questioning reality to a whole new level.
Yeah, wow.
As we assemble it. Huh? What's next that you'd like to see? What would be fun for you?
Well, for me personally, I think I hope I'm always evolving, developing, so I don't really see a finished state.
Yeah.
But I do see big waves of sort of new level come. Often certain kinds of nightmares, because there's a few different classes, certain kind of nightmares bring a whole new energy into our life. And once in a while I have those and I sort of celebrate them. I remember I said, nightmares, lucky you. Okay, it's shaking me up. Okay, lots of transformation, but it's going to bring a whole new learning, a new part of my character, a new skill, maybe a new development. So that's often happening. My book, dreamsbehindmusic.com, people can check it out, actually was a big bridging of two huge parts of me, kind of my hardest or artist, but I like to put the HE in front, and my sort of science, kind of really bridging and bringing them together. And,
Yeah.
it happened on lots of levels. That year, I had a very clear premonition of swimming with these dolphins. I had no idea how, but one thing led to another. I actually tracked the dreams and eventually had this exact waking moment that's pretty much impossible, but surrounded by 30 dolphins, and they're all swimming and dancing and taking, sort of mug shots, but they're all wild. I
Yeah.
couldn't have made it up, but then I sort of noticed, oh, that's interesting because dolphins actually sort of see or they perceive sound as visuals. And that was sort of an outer event, but I dreamt it, and then it became my experience that I was really feeling sound and seeing sound and then feeling music. And I was like, okay, so the dolphin energy was a new development. So those happen across time. I don't know what the next one is. Maybe more outreach. I'd say I'm moving a little bit into bring some of these into larger projects. Like my recent film has been, I think, in 50 festivals. It's got like 35 awards. It actually had the best grand jury award and beating out 226 films in LA, and seems to touch people. And that all came from a dream.
Yeah, cool. You have the story that you told of the dream with your father, the dream of going fishing, which I think is so powerful. I'd love for you to share it.
We tune into our lineage, you think of it as a separate self. I won't get too philosophical, but we're pretty much like the DNA of our parents. So you could say it's a separate person, but I guess half of the code came from my father. So it's not surprising we're bonded on lots of levels, certainly emotionally, as you start living as a child. And he came in a powerful dream. I was on vacation. He'd had a very tough passing. It was really hard for the family, hospitals, and really, really difficult things. So I took off. I was in Maui, actually. I think you guys have been there.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of doing vacation, kind of chilling, integrating, grieving a bit. And then for the first time, I really clearly had the visitation. And I was sure it was like his being or his soul or his essence, anyways, coming. And he says, "Hey, let's go catch some big fish." And I was like, "Okay, Dad." And then I woke up pretty quickly. I didn't have time for like where, how, and I didn't have a fishing rod, and I wasn't really planning on going like deep sea fishing. So I thought, okay, it's one of those dreams you kind of put in the inbox and you kind of listen into it later. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But I was kind of thinking about it here and there. And that day, my partner said, "Do you want to just like take a day off from doing stuff and maybe lie by the ocean?" I said, "Okay." But I was just fiddling around with my drone at the time. I actually have a little drone. And I was just learning to pilot, but I didn't want to go past the edge of the beach, because if it goes too far, you got like a submarine and there goes $500. So I thought, okay, I'll
Yeah,
just
I know.
play it
we know
safe.
You worry
about
about
that with
that.
drones.
Yeah,
It's
it's not a
happened to
pretty
us.
moment.
No.
No,
It's-
got to really watch out for that.
puts a dent in your whole
And
day.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
hard to,
partner
hard
takes
to.
off, and I'm sitting
Definitely
there.
one of those
and,
dream reality checks. Sorry. Yeah, so you're
that's
sitting there with
okay.
your drone.
That's good. I got some empathy. Most people in the audience like never give me the empathy. I'm like, yeah, man. It's not just the $500. It's also like my trip ruined because I'm beating myself up for doing all the stupid inner critic and
Yeah.
all kinds of. I'm kind of like exploring a little bit. My partner, I'm just having fun, learning some of the features. My partner heads off, I think, to grab something to eat or something, and says, "Hey, don't do anything crazy." I said, "Who, me?" Obviously. She's away a little bit. You see the foam or whatever they call it, the spume of like a breath from the humpback
Yeah,
whales.
right.
Except that it's like a mile and a half out from the edge of the ocean there in Maui. And at that moment, this is kind of how dreams can integrate. So it just rushes right to me. "Catch some big fish," my dad, the voice. "Oh, catch them on video." So the insight comes, it was kind of like the segue. Okay, and I kind of got shivers, and I said, "Oh shoot, that means I have to face the fear of $500 and ruined trip, and I have to fly like 2 kilometers out there if I'm going to catch these things on video." I pondered for a little while, and I said, "Well, at very worst case, it'll be a great story." And I got the most amazing footage, like mind-blowing National Geographic level, that led to this film that's won like 3 dozen awards, been a grand jury award, and a whole bunch of stuff, and taken me around the world. So
Cool.
it
So
could be my
cool.
dad saying, "Hey, here's a new career if you want it." From the other side, he's giving me a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Stop slacking around, get the message out there, and have
Well,
fun.
I'll tell you, it's good. But drones, you have to really be grounded, as they say, to fly them properly and not lose them. It's
Yes,
good
sir.
skill set. If you can dream
Thanks for the
and fly a
empathy.
drone, that's great. Yeah,
And
I
so
know.
you have a film out with that actual footage, or did you recreate the moment, or what?
Actual exact footage that I filmed. Yeah, and it's
Amazing.
mind blowing. A whole synchronicity led, and this is near impossible, as you might know if you're a drone pilot and other drone
Yeah,
pilots. Even though I'm in Maui, like try ever getting a dolphin. But I had this intention and wish, and I used what I call the lucid living skills. I said, I don't need to know how. I just went into the moment of the future moment. So you're dreaming it. And then I leave the how up to the magical workings of alternate realities and all the physics of whatever that is. But then synchronicity happened right beside Steve Tyler. I don't know if you know Aerosmith House. That I went past this house and I thought, "Oh my God, we were supposed to stop at this other beach, Po'olena Lena, I think it's called." And like, what? How did we ever get down here? Because we've driven past this thing 50 times. And so I kind of driving back and saying, that was very weird. But that extra 20 minutes sort of turned out that we arrived on the beach. We went out there and there was like one person in this super popular beach. I'm like, what? And so my partner went over to talk to the one person. I'm just setting up my drone because I was going to try some stuff. And they're talking away. And I don't know why there's one person, but I see some people out in the water. They're swimming around and they're near a boat. And I say, "Oh, those boats bring people for watching the turtles." And like, I guess they're just snorkelers. Except that then I see the boat moving. And I said, "Oh, wait a minute." My kind of logic part kicks in. Intellect says they can't be moving the boat and having snorkelers. That's like super dangerous and probably illegal. And then the rest of me goes, "How could they be moving? That's not swimmers." So, I rushed it, but I got a full battery and I got out there and I've tracked 50 dolphins for about 18 minutes on a full battery. Are you kidding me? Like 18 minutes of super close up raw dolphin footage, like a meter or two away.
wow.
Just like mind blowing, impossible stuff that led to the synchronicity that's the end of that video, too.
Beautiful.
So your dream life as a dolphin came in handy.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were with them when you were flying that?
And I often feel myself as a dolphin.
Yeah.
So yes, yes, and yes. When I'm droning, kind of the camera viewpoint to some degree becomes me. So like I'm flying, the identity of me as drone camera. And when I'm with dolphins, I think anything that you sort of focus on, you merge into a little bit. I did have my pretty grounded self, like, hey, you're only a few meters above the ocean. Let's not do any weird.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
always recognize the surface as a surface, and it might try. And I got to get back, and the wind changed, and so I had my physical self.
Yeah, right. That's how come the footage just survived.
Yeah.
That's how I got like the SD card out of it.
Yeah, I bet you'd probably relate well to FPV drones, where you're wearing the goggles.
That's more first person, right?
Yeah, it seems like you could immerse yourself into the experience and be the
especially if
dolphin.
it would even be controlled by like head tilt, and you're sort of very first.
Oh yeah,
person,
yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. That's the latest stuff. Also 360.
Oh yeah, which is one of the inner senses. The physical senses, without turning your head, can't do 360 so easily. I mean, you can do a technological view of it, but to actually experience full-blown like recognition of things in a 360 mode, that requires an inner sense, which is possible. So I'm giving a little like suggestion. Hey, you want to try a cool experiment tonight? Try dreaming in 360.
Cool.
Oh, rings a bell, doesn't it?
You heard that.
Yeah, it did. 360. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm into 360, so yeah, I'll take that as a cue.
You guys are a true joy too, as people and also our interviewer.
Thanks. All right. Well, listen, where are we going to go to check out all of these wonderful creative gifts that you're creating?
What's your best website?
Oh, thanks. You can certainly check out the book, 200 Top Artists Who Dreamt Their Biggest Hits. I isolate all the principles and techniques there, so you can really just go for it. You don't have to be a musical artist. The Dreams Behind the Music, or dreamsbehindthemusic.com. That's kind of an easy segue. Check me out or check the topic out. Go on Amazon and check out the many 5-star reviews if you don't trust.
Okay,
And then if you want to go a little deeper, applydreaming.com. That's sort of teleclasses, coaching, and lots of other levels of really going deep with me and some of the gifts that I've been able to share before.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now back to Craig.
All right, back to Craig.
Okay. There we go.
Very good. So if you're around in late July and August, we hope to see you in person.
Oh, I'd love to see you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
All
if you
right.
get out here, let us know.
We'll be living on the lake instead of in the ocean.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right,
Exactly.
sweetie. Thanks so much. We'll be seeing
It's
you in
been
our
such a great
dreams.
joy, and I hope all the listeners have some happy nightmares and maybe even some lucid dreams too.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Sweet.
Okay.
All right.
See
So
you.
long.